we're going to make a cheese board out of this guy. Welcome back to my channel. I'm Sophia Zadola, and today we are making a sweet and savory treat for Mom for Mother's Day. So this is going to be made inside of a large loaf of rye bread. The thing that's special about this is that whether your mom is in quarantine with you or she lives down the street, we can wrap this up, keep it sanitary, and drop it off to Mom and let her know we made a sweet treat for you. So before we get started, I'm going to put on some gloves, and then I have washed and prepped some of my items. You guys can use whatever items work for you, whatever's in season, whatever you can find at your local grocery mart. But I do recommend having 2 cheeses. Probably this one's fruit driven, so I have like 4 fruits. I'm doing 2 different types of herbs. We have basil and rosemary. I'm doing 1 type of nut. It's a sesame honey almond, dried apricots, and then of course my favorite dates. These are Joolies Dates. They're delicious. So those are going in there. And then I did a little kiwi carving just to prep ahead of time. You're going to want to cut straight down your loaf. You're going to want a bread knife. So the best way to do this, I already did it, is to cut down like this, and then you'll remove the top of the lid. So this is your lid. You're going to use this later to top off. Now the next part is the best part. You're going to rip out the inside of the bread, but get a bowl so that you can save this bread for later because we're going to be using it. So just kind of dig in there. And this is a really fun thing to do if you have kids. You can give them this task to do. Put on their tiny cute little gloves and have them just dig into the bread. But be careful when you're digging, you're not going through the bottom because you really need to have a solid bottom at the base of this bread. You don't want your cheese falling through. Now comes the fun part. We want to start with the larger items in here first. So one other thing that I just remembered was your bread lid. It depends on your preference. I recommend taking out the bread in the center of here if you plan to use your lid. Some people might just want to display and drop it off like this. Or if yours is a really, really flat lay and everything's cushioned in there, you can leave the bread for your guests to use with balsamic. You can do butter. You can tell them that they can just cut this and warm it up. Or just remove the lid and have a hollow lid so that you can stack up a little bit higher. Got some grapes here that I'm going to put in. I really like when grapes are falling off on the edge. And since these grapes are such a rich, dark purple, I want them to be next to something that's going to make them pop. I love green next to purple, so I think I'll just place one of our kiwi carvings on the side of it. So I'm going to put the caramelized onion jam in here as well. I think that's going to be cute. And then the cheese. This is Drunken Goat cheese, one of my faves. So these are the bigger items that are taking up space, right? And then I've got some beautiful large strawberries that I'm going to pop in here. I'm going to put that next to the Drunken Goat cheese. It's fun to leave the green on them. So I put one green down and then one green faced up. And then I've got some cherries here. Cherries will be nice to kind of sprinkle on top of the grapes. We're gonna put some dried apricots. Oops, save that for later. We're gonna put dried apricots on the other side of the kiwi. I'll turn this little Lazy Susan so you can see on the camera. And I'll get an up close shot after this. But we're gonna do apricots on the side of this kiwi. Really wanna do a generous amount of these. I also have an orange cheddar cheese. These are like the best. These ones are also from Whole Foods. This is sweet red cheddar cubes. I'm gonna put these in here as well, but I'm gonna first use a couple dates to kind of create a division between too much orange, and these dates will break it up. I like these dates because they're long and I can kind of stack them. This looks pretty cool. And then I'm gonna do some cheddar cubes right here, a generous amount of cheddar cubes. Stack them high. I'm gonna pop in, wow, I didn't realize how much orange I had. Just I bought a couple peaches and they weren't as ripe as I thought they were, so we only got a couple little slices, but they're still delicious. I'm just gonna pop those in the spaces because I have a few of these little peaches. And then we're gonna sprinkle some sesame almonds into the crack right here that I have. Fill in that space. Beautiful. And then we're gonna do a few more cherries right here. Now for the fun part. I'm gonna take some of the bread and I'm just gonna take a little bit of the bread and I'm gonna stuff some of it just kind of as like a little bread ball in there. Make sure you get a piece that's not crummy, that you can kind of bind with your hands, squish it together, and then just place it where you think there's a gap in the bread. Can go right there. And then the last part is to take some herbs and place it in your bread. So I like my rosemary sticking up. I kind of am gonna want the basil to just kind of fall off the edge right here. Rose petals. These are food grade, organic, dried rose petals. They're kind of my signature thing. I love to sprinkle them on everything. They smell divine, they taste divine. Okay, just do a little sprinkle of rose petals, especially appropriate for Mother's Day. So after you put on your rose petals, you can grab your lid. A little disclaimer, when you are taking out the bread on the inside, it's very fragile, so just be gentle when pulling it, because I have a little hole right here, but that shouldn't matter. Okay, so then you take your lid and shake out the crumbs ahead of time so that you're not getting crumbs on the board, and then you just kind of can close it off and leave it a little open, or you can display it like this. And then there's a few different ways you can bring it over when you're transporting it. I like to keep things on like a little platter. You can do a wood slate, you can do a platter like this, or you can just wrap it completely in saran wrap, put it in a box, you can do foil, whatever works. Almost looks like a big sandwich. Thanks so much, you guys, for watching this video. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. Happy Mother's Day to all the moms out there, and stay safe.